Last Prison is a 1999 fantasy novel by Monte, and it is actually one of those rare Forgotten Realms novels, so Dungeons & Dragons Forgotten Realms campaign setting, that is a complete standalone. And by complete, I mean like not connected to really anything, right? I mean, it is set in a place that does have other novels set in it, but the characters are unique to the story. It is not somehow attached to another series, like in the Harpers, right? Almost all the books in the Harpers are standalones, or a good many of them are, but they're technically part of this Harper series, right? Well, this is not the case. This is one of those actual standalone novels that is completely standalone, and not somehow attached, right? It's not like Lost Empires, right, where those 4 novels are completely standalone, or the Noble series and those 6 novels are completely standalones, right? It's just by itself, one of those weird ones that did not get attached to any other series for whatever reason. Besides that, that's so you can know how it's connected to the Forgotten Realms and other novels. This actually begins in Medias Res, in our prologue, and we have Veod Runechild, who is a cambion, who is fleeing Vor sent by the Merilith Nethes, a servant of Grazit. He is in the fields of night unseen, heading toward Kadath Editorn, and its Varangian Guardians. There's a lot of technical names here for the fiends, but he has lived his whole life, his whole half-demon life, half-human life, in the Abyss. And what he calls in the city of Broken Reach, before telling us the Abyss actually has no cities, so it's a little confusing. And I'm not sure if there's anything on the Broken Reach outside of this novel anyways. And we don't really learn anything from this novel about it. So Veod has red hair. Honestly, I'm so used to red hair in fantasy being on women. It's kind of a nice surprise seeing it on this main male character. I realize I'm generalizing, but still. It also has something that moves, but he has something that moves beneath his skin that seems to have a mind of its own, kind of, like Maui's tattoo in Moana or whatever, right? He calls it the taint that seems to guide him or maybe lead him astray. He's not really sure. We also have a brother and sister. These are our other characters, Whitlock and Milan. The last name is Brandish. Just starting in on a quest to rid themselves of the family curse so they don't die young. They barely started this trip from their home in Arkandale when seemingly an elf ghost appears to them and talks of Carva Inn and points them to the Thunder Peaks. Veod also runs into a figure, too, though they did not act anywhere near natural. He's not acclimated to this world enough to know what is normal in the Spider Haunt Woods, though the reader obviously knows these people are not acting natural. We also get more people that the Brandishes run into, a new face, pretty much with each step of the road. A bigger one is the Raven Witch, who lives in a monstrously large tree with a bunch of ravens. She's powerful and seemingly plainly evil as well. I like Veod's experience in this new place. This new experience he has just in the material plane. He's rough, as you would expect from a cambion from the Abyss, but he's largely confused to the point of plain honesty. Though D&D always had a tendency to make it so everyone speaks the same language, we still have that, actually. So a language barrier would have made it more fun, I think. He just waltzes into, the Dale lands or whatever, and everyone speaks the same language as him, which doesn't really make any sense. So that is what it is, though. Milan and Whitlock are pretty flat and plain characters. I do like Veod, and I don't really dislike the other 2 characters. I can appreciate their level of power. They don't blow through monsters like many heroes in Dungeons & Dragons novels do. It's always a challenge for them, and often a very dangerous one. Like challenges should be, or I guess you would even say tend to be, in the tabletop role-playing game of Dungeons & Dragons itself. The plot also is pretty straightforward. We know the destination from the start, and it goes pretty swiftly there, with stops along the way, of course. The part really reminded me of something you'd see in a Ravenloft and was appropriately creepy. We do get stuff like were-ravens and memory moss, and that do show up, and they're nice touches. We also get thoughts on deities, and interestingly, we do have some interesting thoughts on free will and the freedom of the soul, when you have stuff like comparing mortals to fiends, right? Veiled in his fiendish soul, or maybe half of his soul is fiendish. So we have some interesting thoughts there. There's like a little attempt at like romance, which I didn't really care for. It didn't really work very well. It just didn't really make sense. But it also wasn't like a big part of the story, so it wasn't a big bother. Overall, it was kind of just an okay Forgotten Realms novel. It does some things that are interesting, but then eventually it just kind of goes exactly where you'd expect it to. So I think after the initial, like, oh, this is fun, this is an interesting tidbit or a new bit, it's not that interesting. I mean, I think it sets out to do what it intends to, but it's just kind of an okay one. Most of these Forgotten Realms novels are pretty mediocre, and this one just sits right with those, so.